I was born in 1984, Ruby Memorial Hospital, Christmas Day. And the reason I ended up being a miracle, so to speak, is because I was born 3 months early. I was supposed to be born at the end of March. I was really sick. My mom didn't get to hold me for the first 30 days that I was alive. And I had to have open heart surgery. I had to have, actually, I have scars on my side. I had to have tubes put in my lungs twice. My lungs wouldn't inflate correctly. They eventually looked at my parents and said, "We've exhausted all options. We have one more thing to do. And if you're not willing to let us do it," they basically told them I would die. So they offered them to put me on some steroids, which were experimental at the time. I still tell people the steroids still haven't worn off today. Or as my dad says, he started gaining ounces and he gained many, many more. But I started to thrive, started to do well, and within a few months I got to go home. So, yeah. In 2012, I lost my grandma, and when she died, I couldn't handle it, couldn't process it, couldn't make sense of it. I know that sounds silly because she died at the young age of 90, but she was my best friend, my rock, my absolute. So when I started to crumble, which grief can do to a person, you can have all the skills in the world, but if you don't handle it, it will crush you. And so my life started to fall apart. I started drinking heavily. I got 2 DUIs within 6 months. I was arrested on October 14, 2014, and I would sit in North Central Regional Jail until Christmas Eve. I was so angry. God, I was angry. I was so angry at God when my grandma died. And I came back around to the faith when I was sitting behind pane glass and my dad came to visit me. And I'm 33 years old and I don't ever remember watching my dad ever shed a tear, even at his mom's funeral when my grandma died. But that day behind the pane glass, he looked at me and said, "Son, I don't know what to do to help you, but I want to help you." And he shed a single tear. And to me, in that moment, in that time, that's what changed everything. Because I knew what I was doing was hurting other people. I had to hit my lowest point. Bottom line, end of story. I had to literally hit my lowest point where I had nowhere to look other than up. I wish I could say I found my faith overnight, but it's been a process. Rediscovering who God is, how much God loves me, how much I'm loved by God. It's funny to look back at it now because I realize my old faith had to die for my real faith to come out. I could tell you the scriptures, I could do all the churchy stuff, but at the end of the day, when I really needed it, it crumbled. And so now I feel like instead of having a showroom faith where, everything looks great, I have a real faith where everything looks not always great, but it's real. And I know that, as a wise bald man once said, that the worst thing is never the last. And that helps me, that comforts me, that encourages me. I never found my answer at the bottom of a bottle, though I really tried to find it, really tried to look. I found my answer when I was willing to sit with the emotions and let God meet me in them instead of begging God to take them away. That's when my resurrection happened. I truly couldn't be where I am if it weren't for people. If it weren't for people encouraging me and people loving me, people pulling out of me what they see in me that I don't necessarily see in myself. Communities enabled me to come back to a place where it didn't always feel safe. Opinions weren't always valued. And this particular community has allowed me to do both. They've allowed me to feel valued. They've allowed me to offer opinions. They've allowed me to question big things. I see God in people every time I walk through those doors. It's through little Mallory coming and giving me 15 hugs every Sunday, to my girl Janice busting on me for wearing hats and using my cell phone, who then also used her cell phone in church. It's Debbie in the back encouraging me. It's just, everybody here is great. And I honestly, I couldn't have done it Couldn't have done it without any of you. So, yeah.